Peace, greetings to all the gods and goddesses on the path doing the work. As I said about a week or so ago, I was going to shoot just a couple of these little small videos in between, these 30-minute videos or whatever in between. Because as you know, coming on the show, we have pretty much guests scheduled for the rest of this month going into early September. So I just want to throw that out there real quick reminders. Hold on, let me turn this. We have upcoming this Tuesday night. Val Cadman will be on the show. We'll be talking about the Citra Akra, the Void of Darkness. We'll be going a little bit more in depth on his most recent book that just came out. So we'll be talking about that. Thursday, Sister Oni will be on the show. She'll be talking about self-realization, self-understanding, which I think is a very important topic. The following week, more than likely I'll do a show Tuesday the 13th. I'm not sure right now. There will not be a show on the 15th because we will be in New York on the 15th. And there probably won't be a show the 13th either. I'm not sure yet, depending on what happens. Definitely won't be a show on the 15th. Then the following Thursday on the 22nd, we'll have Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum back on the show. He's going to be talking about ancient civilizations and modern science, which I think is going to be a great topic. I think that's much needed. He'll be kind of updating the then and the now, which he does so well in his work and his books. And then just a reminder, the special Saturday show, September 14th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have Richard K. Page on the show. As you know, he's a world-renowned Luciferian and author. He's authored several books. Possibility he will have a new book out by the time he comes on that show, from what he told me. But we will see. That'll be a special 4 p.m. Saturday show. Obviously, due to the fact he lives in the UK, he's 5 hours ahead of us. So this will be the third time Richard's been on the show, and when we get him on the show, we schedule it a special time due to that. Obviously, it's kind of rough for him to come on our time zone. It'd be way too late. The upcoming ritual event, as we know, we're in the beginnings, full swing of August 30th, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We're going to have the ritual of the pentagram of Set. We're going to be working and invoking different energy aspects of Set, which is going to be a great ritual. I'm looking forward to that. If you want to attend that, send me an email to request an invite, which you will see in the description box of this video and all my videos. And the weekend 3-day event we have coming up in October, the 25th to the 27th, the Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 2. It's be our second year doing it. We're going to be making this a yearly event. If you are interested in attending, again, send me an email. I'll send you all the information. It will be here in North Fort Lauderdale. It will be a 3-day event of rituals, workshops, presentations, classes, rituals. There will be 3 different rituals that weekend, and just some straight hanging out and kicking it. Also, if you'd like to present at the event and do a presentation on a left-hand path occult topic, send me an email. Right now, we already have 5 or 6 different presenters, 5 or 6 different presenters, and that will stay open until the itinerary is filled. So if you're interested in presenting and you are attending, send me an email. Let me know what the topic you want to present. And space permitting, we will get you on the itinerary. All right? That's 25th to the 27th. If you are interested in getting a spiritual reading or a consultation, send me an email. Please specify in the email which one you prefer. A consultation is just an open, free-for-all session where we just build, talk, discuss. We can talk about any particular thing you want. A reading is a specific system of divination used to contact the spirits. I am now being clear on the type of readings I offer. If you would like a choice, you can do a reading with Lucifer and the Goetia demons. You can do a reading with the spirits of the dead. You can do a reading with the Orishi. You can do a reading with the Voodoo or Loa deities. You can do a reading, an Egyptian rune reading with the Natiru. If you have a preference, specify that in your email when you contact me for a reading. If you do not, I will just kind of go with my instinct and use what I see fit. Also in that email, for a consultation or a reading, please specify if your days and times you're available in the time zone you live in. Very important. That saves time with the back and forth. All right? That's all I got for the announcement. So, let me kind of get into what I want to get into. I did a video last Monday because, like I said, you still got spooky, conscious people that have their warped interpretation of what magic is, what the left-hand path is, things of that nature. Let me just stress this. I'm not going to make this a whole video about that, but this is going to be about being consistent in what you do, developing a body of work, okay, number 2. And the most important out of all that is seeing the manifested results in the here and now. Not subjectively somewhere in outer space, not making a statement because that's what you said you did. That's great, and I'm sure you did. I talked about that. But what tends to happen with a lot of these groups, like, let me talk about the group thing real quick. What happens with a lot of these conscious so-called groups or circles where people get on board because there's a charismatic leader or charismatic person leading a group of people or whatever you want to call it. The problem is, let me use an example. And I use the Nuwapian example of Dr. York. Okay, Dr. York always laid claims to these titles and these accolades, right? For those that are familiar with him. And I'm going to use this as a brief example. Okay? He just claimed to be 720-degree Grand Hierophant of the Shrine Order. Sounds great. Was a Master Mason, was a Master of this. And every school of thought he taught, he placed himself as the highest deity. He was Melchizedek, he was Amun-Ra, he was Amenubi-Ro-Akata, he was Al-Kidder, right? The list goes on and on. Whatever school of thought he was talking about, whatever system of spirituality he was talking about, he always placed himself as the highest you can be in that particular ideology. All right, the fucked up part about that is, for an example, is there's no body of work to validate and substantiate that, okay? You can't just take a title, lay claim to it because of a subjective experience you claim you had. And you probably did in the subjective realm. But the problem is it doesn't translate to being factual in the here and fucking right now. Okay? So I use that example to say on this path of the occult, the left-hand path, and I'm talking about those paths. I ain't talking about intertwining conscious bullshit, or any other school of thought. We're talking about what real left-hand path in occult is. You must have a body of work that demonstrates your proficiency to your claims. Because if you don't, it's purely subjective. And that's okay for you, he or she, within their subjective realm. That's the only place it holds weight. Real left-hand path in occult is based on the results, okay? I say that to say, as I've said before, I constantly get emails. Where do I begin? Where do I start? How do I know what to do? Well, that question in itself raises the awareness that you still have road clearing work and shadow work you need to focus on. Because the very fact you don't know, there's the answer to part of your question. The reason why I say that is simply due to the fact it's confirmation you still have blockages, traumas, things you have not addressed. Step 1 is always identifying your strengths and your weaknesses. You'll hear that from me over and over like a broken record. It doesn't mean doing like these other space cadets do. I get, engulfed in a specific system of spirituality and ideology, then I just start laying claims to being a master of this and a master of that. Basically, people like that are jack of all trades, masters of nothing. Nada. Zilch. You'll see they have an erratic record of being inconsistent and all over the place. 1 minute they're this, 1 minute they're that, 1 minute they're doing this. One minute they're that. One minute they're not this no more. Next minute they're doing that. Now there's no problem with being chaotic. There's no problem with being diverse and being all over the place, because that's part of this path. The problem when it becomes a problem is when there's no consistency or results in what you do. So this is how you gauge and determine if what you are doing is productive or right. Can you transition it to the here and now? It's that fucking simple. If you ain't seeing it improving you in the here and now, then that's a problem. Because then it shows you're purely trapped in your subjective. It becomes a problem. All right? And don't get into all this world is an illusion and if this world is an illusion like a lot of these conscious people claim, and you are controlling the illusion, then why did you put yourself in an illusion where you're a fucking failure? That's all. Don't get spooked with me on it. Don't go to fucking Cadetville. Let's stay grounded here. And if you can't start there and validate that, purely subjective. All right, but not to stay on that too long. As a matter of fact, when I say we, myself and Brother Ravana Noon, who haven't done anything in a long time, because we've been busy, different stuff going on, and we haven't been able to do anything for a while. We have relinked back up to do a special show on this topic that I think will be very informative and aware, and it'll give people a lot of advice on how to stay focused, how to stay consistent, how to have a body of work, and most of all, the most important thing that the show will focus on is creating harmony between your objective and subjective realms. That's the key. That'll be the central focus of what we're going to discuss, but obviously it's going to branch out into things that are connected with it. So I'm not going to stay on that. I'm going to leave that alone for a few weeks. But what I wanted to talk about is developing, again, a consistent work habit, a work ethic, developing your own path to self-mastery. I've talked about this, scattered about over the last several years. I wanted to focus on it again from some emails that inspired. I got some emails from some good, sincere people. One, they identified in the emails that they do need to do shadow work, and that's a beautiful thing. But it must start after identifying that work that needs to be done, being consistent in that work. Now, when I say develop a consistent plan of work, that's going to obviously vary from person to person. All right? The formula for that is not going to be what it might be for me as for somebody watching this video, or what it might be for somebody you know. Your plan has to be developed based on what you got going on around you, okay? What you've uncovered in your shadow work. All of that should give you the awareness of what direction you should be headed in, what archetypes you should be working with, what type of rituals you should be constructing to deal with that. That's the purpose of that. When you have this plan and starting there, and then you start to gradually bring that plan together, as I've mentioned in the past, it's like taking a jigsaw puzzle and you start putting the pieces together. This is when things start to come together. You start seeing the consistent results. And then it starts to become second nature. Your intuition automatically leads you in areas of development that you need to work on. Okay? That becomes crystal clear, and that is a key point where you won't be asking, what should I do? Where should I begin? How do I know? Right? The shadow work identifies and develops what needs to be done. Sometimes we get jammed up in the things we like, and I've talked about this. I see this all the time. It's okay to have likes and loves and passions for a particular thing, a particular spiritual system, a particular concept. I have loves and passions for Heka Egyptian black magic. I have a love and a passion for working with La Santissima Muerte, the Holy Death. I have love and passion for working with the draconian energy of the left-hand path and the Klepoptic tree. I have passions for all of these things. But I make sure I'm giving it the correct energy. I make sure I do not get stuck in one particular thing. Because sometimes we can get in a state of religion and not be conscious of it. And religious is when you're doing something, just over and over again, routine, and it just starts to become mundane whether you're conscious of it or not. This path isn't about that. This path is constantly about challenging yourself. We talk about that all the time. Constantly experimenting and trying new things, Because you as a god or a goddess, that's what's the determining factor making the decision on whether something is right or wrong from you. Because you indulged or experienced it to a certain degree. Not because somebody told you this is what you should or should not do. Not because you read it somewhere in a book. Or not because you listened to a lecture from a charismatic speaker that captivated your emotions and your attention. That tends to be the problem. People tend to, we always talk about being a proactive or a reactionary being. Most people are reactionary. I say most. Because they react off of their emotions and how their emotions respond or connect to a particular thing. And sometimes that can get you jammed up, because just because you might find an emotional connection with something don't necessarily mean it's a productive thing for you, especially at the moment of what you got going on in your life. A reactive person, as I mentioned before in the past, uses critical thinking to come to the conclusion in making decisions. So when you're trying to make a decision on whether something is for you or not, whether to do something, whether it's for you or not, or whether to carry out some type of ritualistic work, etc., you should do critical analysis. Use critical analyzation of yourself and the situation. Weigh your pros and cons. Gather your information. Then make your decision. I've always said being on the path of self-mastery, the left-hand path, the occult, whatever you want to call it, involves being able to be a critical thinker. Sometimes that person can get lost in the subjective and the objective. They become so subjective that all common sense aspect of critical thinking is chucked out the window. And that's what I mean when I say somebody goes to spooky Cadetville. Now that could work for somebody too who is too objective, right? We see this in situations with people who are very successful on a physical level when it comes to money, finances, material things, things that are governed by the physical or objective realm. But they're still miserable. They're still unhappy. There's still something missing. They can't put their finger on it. And 9 out of 10 times there's no spiritual connection to their real selves or to what we call the micro and the macrocosm on a conscious and a spiritual level. There's that disconnect or harmony. So even though I say people can become too subjective and spooky, objectively there can be a disconnect there too. You can become too objective. So it's about creating that harmony. But being a critical thinker, and I've talked about this scattered over the years, right? There was a video I did a while back, the steads and the rewards of work on the left-hand path, something like that. It's in the archives. Did it sometime, I'm gonna say either early this year or late the end of last year. I can't remember. And I talked about one key concept in there that I've been trying to draw that point home for a while. Having knowledge of self is the first key in understanding of that. All right? Understanding your strengths, your weaknesses is knowledge of self. Knowing your limitations is knowledge of self. Are you being practical in your ritualistic work? That's knowledge of self. So when I say knowledge of self, I'm not just talking about the basic understanding of self, who you are, where you came from, how you were born and raised, your ethnicity. That's part of your identity process to an extent. It doesn't identify and explain exactly who and what you are in its totality. That's just the basic understanding of knowledge of self. So when I'm saying knowledge of self, I'm not just talking about those things. I'm more or less talking about on an internal and a spiritual level. Do you have true knowledge of self? Most people will say yes, that are conscious or on some type of path, whether it's this path or and other paths. But the evidence, the results show otherwise. Now, and I say this not in a judgmental sense. Look, let me explain this shit real quick. I've been doing this shit, and I'm not saying this because I want a fucking pat on the back. I'm not saying this because I want a chocolate chip cookie. I'm saying this because I've smelled every type of bullshit you can imagine. Okay? I'm 48 years old. Let me put that out there first. I've been in some type of conscious understanding on up until the occult left-hand path since I was probably in my junior year in high school, 16, 17 years old. Starting from being exposed first to the 5% Nation, the Answer Rule Law community, on into all the other schools of fuckery with Dr. York, Masonry. Went through that twice. That's a whole nother story. Because I went through the Nuwapian clandestine lodge that's not recognized anywhere worldwide. Then I redid it again in a recognized lodge by the Masonic governing body, whatever that means. I've gone through the Rosicrucian order, still active in all of these groups membership-wise, not active in the sense I go there like I used to. 11th degree Rosicrucian, 3rd degree OTO, Theosophical Society, Martinist order, Egyptology, gone through all this shit. I've talked about it briefly in videos. I've been through all this shit. There's nothing I have not heard. It amazes me when people think they're so fucking intelligent because and I talked about this, and I'm talking about these conscious groups that think they're coming with something new and intelligent and deep and heavy, who sit here and talk about that the white man is this and the white man is that. This kills me. But then all they're quoting, all their sources and references are white folks. That kills me. That the very system they claim they're destroying and speaking out against is the very system they're supporting. And at the same token, they're using white authors and scientists and theologians. Look, I'm saying that to say I ain't got a problem with it because I study everybody's shit. I read authors from every ethnic background, every race. I don't care if you're white, black, Chinese, Latino, Asian. If you're dropping some information and some science, I'm absorbing it, I'm studying it, I'm mastering it. And as I've made before, this is not a conscious channel, okay? I know some people get it twisted and their feathers get in a ruffle when I'm talking about certain topics with Egypt, this and that. I couldn't give a shit if you love, like, or hate it. I made that clear. It's not a conscious channel. So don't get all up in your feelings because you're upset because you heard something here that doesn't line up with your ideology. It's just as simple as tune it out, don't watch it. This is a channel that is for everybody. Every ethnicity, every race. I don't care what your religion is, as long as you don't enforce it on myself or any other person that's a part of this. That's your business. I don't care. The channel's for everybody. I do not promote racism. I do not promote hate. And I definitely ain't going to double talk myself and talk about how the white man is the devil and white people do this and that, but then I'm going to refer you to white people's sources. That don't fly with me. That shows you're more conflicted and confused in worrying about that I might have said something that doesn't line up with your personal spiritual path. Who cares? I don't care. I want to make that clear. I'm going to speak. This is my channel. I say and do what I feel like. Okay? I don't go and interrupt on anybody else's channel and try to enforce my ideology. Look, I'm not stupid. I got common sense. If you think I sit here and actually think everybody accepts everything that I say, I'd be foolish to tell you that. And that would be alarming. That would show nobody had their own train of thought, their own opinions. Okay, so believe me, just as many people love and agree with what I say, just as many people are going to dislike and hate what I say. But what I'm trying to say is I couldn't care because I don't design things around that or worry about things like that. That's why I would never call out or single an individual specifically on my channel unless they were foolish enough to call me out. And I say they would be foolish enough to call me out. And I don't say that out of arrogance, I say that out of confidence. So when I did that video last Monday, yes, it was geared to a specific individual that sent me an email because people had asked me questions, who is this, who is that? I'm not going to give it life, right? I'm not going to tell you. It's pointless, it's irrelevant, okay? Unless that person decides that they have a death wish and they determine they want to go to war like that. That's a whole different level. But I would never be the instigator or the initiator. So I don't give anybody time or energy, right? But what I will do for people who are really tuned into this path is tell it like it is. That's what I do. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to tell you like it is. You can either love, like, hate it. I don't care. It's not my job. As I said, once this camera goes off, I'm about doing my business, living my life, doing what it is I do. I don't worry about anybody in YouTube land. Remember, I use this platform as a tool, a medium. Not like other people do, gangsters, what I like to call YouTube gangsters and know-it-all, who hide behind screen names and keyboards and create these clever names and talk shit but never really identify who and what they are, that shit is comical to me. I don't pay no mind to that shit. I don't use social media platforms for that purpose. All the fuckery and all the, all the gossip and the slander and the sensationalism like Love and Hip Hop type of vibe. Or some reality TV type of vibe. I don't fuck with none of that shit. I solely use this platform to teach, educate, and put knowledge out there. You do with it what you want. That's all I do. I am not affiliated with any group or organization. Even the group work I do here, there's nothing to join. There's nothing to sign up for. The only services I offer for you to sign up for are the classes I offer and readings and consultations. That's it. I don't have any group. I don't have any organization. There's nothing to join. There's no club. There's no membership card. There's no degree title. Here's you're this degree. You're master this. You're magister this. You're epistemist this. You're adept this. Look, I've been through all those occult orders. I've been part of those orders. Okay? It's all fuckery and bullshit. It's all nonsense. As I said before, people get a title. They don't know how to fill the title. They let the title control them. Them days with me are done. I've been, look, whether it's OTO, the temple is set, I've been through all that shit. I have credentials sitting right behind me to prove it. I've walked the fucking path. I know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to that bullshit. And I don't care if it's the temple is set or any other organization. You are not going to tell me what I can and cannot do, what I can and cannot say, because it does not line up with your personal ideology. I do not give two flying shits. Okay? The left-hand path in the occult is about liberation. Anybody has the right to say what they want, but also anybody has the right to be scrutinized, including myself. I don't mind if you scrutinize them. I don't mind if you have a difference of opinion. I don't mind if you look at things a different way. That's cool. You're entitled to that, as long as it's done in a respectful manner. I'll only get raw dog McGraw if you get stupid, because I'm not going to put up with anybody's bullshit. And this is why, as I explained, keep the circle small. I don't deal with bullshit. All I worry, and all anybody should worry about, is doing it for yourself, number one, and worrying about yourself. And if you're getting results, I've mentioned this a million times in videos over the years, you don't need to justify yourself to anybody else. You have a weakness when you feel you need to prove and justify yourself to others that what you're doing is right. Back in the day, years ago, I'm going back to the 80s and 90s, when I was young and hungry and looking for shit to get into. We always felt as young, and that's the ego, felt the need, we had to always prove ourselves to be right. I only bring that can of whoop ass out in that sword to chop that head off if the person presents themselves that needs that head to be chopped off. That's it. I'm not the provoker or the instigator. In my younger days, yes, I've told y'all in older videos, I would go looking for people to debate. I would go looking for Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and other, just to get into it. I would get a kick out of the debate. I would get juiced and energized looking to get into a debate. That spirit is buried dormant within. And it only comes out when it needs to. Okay? So let me make that clear. But when you get older, mature, and wiser, it's unnecessary. When you're on the path and you're locked in and you're doing what you're doing, and it's working, it's producing results, you don't care about none of that shit no more. Let people say and do what they want. Let them keep their bullshit and fuckery over by them. Just don't bring it in this circle right here. Because then we got a problem. Now you're invading. It's like a country invading another country. Right? Then you got to go to war. You don't invade my space, I don't invade your space. Stay in your lane, I stay the fuck in my lane. Okay? And I'm not interested if you like what I talk about. I do not care. Alright? Anyway, I ain't going to stay on here much longer. But the point is, it's about being consistent in what you do. And I want to, again, finish with this. And that's probably what I'll title the video. It just came to me. Giving it to you straight, no chasing. That'll be the title of this video. That's what I'm going to title this video. It just popped in my head. Be consistent in what you do. Have a consistent body of work to back that up. Have the results to prove it. Okay? It's like when I did that video a while back, I did a video like last year showing my credentials of all the occult orders and fraternities that I walk with. I didn't do that again, as I said in that video, for a pat on the back. It's to show you, here's my body of work. When I'm making statements that I'm a master mason and walk through a lodge, I have credentials to back it up. You can research it and look it up. When I say I was initiated in OTO, you can look that up. I can give you the documentation. When I have documentation, say I'm an 11th degree Rosicrucian, you can look that up. I have documentation to back it up. I say that and all the other shit, whatever. When I'm talking about Palo and Ether, there's documentation to back it up. I'm saying that to say again, not because I want a pat on the back or a chocolate chip cookie. I get tired of these people speaking on things they know nothing about. Don't talk about Palo if you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Don't talk about Rosicrucian and OTO and the teachings of Crowley if you don't know what you're talking about. Be clear, and I can respect if you're building on these things and saying based on my research, but some people make definitive statements and never set foot in any of these lodges, never went through any of these rituals, but they want to make claims and give themselves titles. That's the shit I'm talking about. So have a body of work to support what you're talking about, okay? And the work speaks for itself. You see the people in this left-hand path conscious community. Ooh, let me take that one back. In this left-hand path self-mastery occult community, you know the real from the fake. You see who's got the body of work and you see who's just got the gift of gab. It's real easy to identify, right? There's an old saying, right, amongst mystics, you know, look at the fruit that the tree bears. That's just a simple way of look at the individual and see if they're bearing the works that they're claiming. And it can't all be subjective, people. And we know the basic principle of greater black magic is taking something from the subjective, enforcing your will on a situation for a favorable outcome personally for yourself, and transitioning it into the objective. Greater black magic isn't 100% subjective. Can't prove and show that anywhere. And if you think it is, then you're not left-hand path. You're not path to self-mastery, you're not the occult. Bottom line, body of work, consistencies, results. Step 1, shadow work. Identify what it is you need to work on yourself and correct. Step 2, that awareness leads you to what specific work you need to do. Because I get this question all the time. What archetype should I work with? Well, your shadow work will identify. Always good to start with road clearing archetypes. I've said that many times before. All right? Anyway, let me stop there. I don't want to stay still long-winded. You know how to get at me. You know how to contact me for any of the aforementioned things. Consultations, spiritual readings, classes, upcoming events, upcoming shows. Check Instagram, Primordial Chaos. Everything I'm talking about with these announcements is on there. Primordial Chaos on Facebook, the community section right here on the YouTube channel. All the announcements, upcoming classes, events, readings, consultations, all the information is on there. All right? Emails in the description box. That's all I got for you. Happy Sunday. Everybody else, enjoy your Sunday. And we will see everybody Tuesday night. Peace, love, hair grease, bacon, eggs, ham.